We are going to look at some Deshaun Watson replacement options for 2025. But I want to open up the video by talking to all the diehard fans. The fans that are not going to quit on this team. The fans that are going to go to a parade for an 0-16 team. The fans that are going to root on the Cleveland Browns no matter what. And if you are one of those fans, then join the Cleveland Browns report because we're not going anywhere. It is time to look at replacement options. I am sure everyone is wondering what could the Browns do at quarterback next season if they decide to move on from Watson. So we're going to look at free agents, we're going to look at potential trade targets, and we're going to look at some draft targets as well. We will not leave a single stone unturned. But I think it's important to at least look at the possibility, or maybe not the possibility, but how realistic a parting of ways is. From the financial standpoint, it's difficult to envision. If the Browns were to designate Deshaun Watson as a post-June 1 release, they would have a $118.9 million dead cap hit for 2025. That is a huge chunk of their 2025 pie devoted to a player not on the roster. It would be the biggest dead cap hit in NFL history. Even if you combine second and third, it would be larger. Russell Wilson has the crown right now at $85 million. We're looking at $118 million just for 2025, and then in 2026, it would be a very nice $53 million. Now, if the Browns were to hold on for Watson for another season, but just make him the backup, but still on the roster for 2025, 2026 post-June 1 release, the dead cap hit goes down to a more manageable $72.9 million. The salary cap's always going to go up, so that's a crazy number right now, and it's still pretty scary, but you can put together an okay roster. And the dead cap hit for 2027 would be a very manageable $27 million. Now, I did see Spotrac put out this idea as to a little bit of an easier way to soften the blow if the Browns were to move on from Watson. They could convert some of his salary into a signing bonus, which I'm sure Jimmy Haslam would love to write that big of a check for someone to get out of his building. That seems like a tough pill to swallow. But if you were to do that and you carry his cap hit through June 1st, you could then make him a post-June 1 release, and his dead cap hit for 2025 is $83 million, 2026 $89 million, so you're spreading the money around a little bit more so. Now, like I said, Russell Wilson took on the Broncos took on an $85 million dead cap hit when they released Russell Wilson. They are 3-2 right now, so it's not impossible to put together a halfway decent roster. You just have to have a lot more makes than misses. To me, this really comes down to Jimmy and D. Haslam. When we're talking about this much money, this is not a Kevin Stefanski decision. It's probably not even an Andrew Berry decision. This is a Jimmy Haslam decision. As the owner, is he okay with spending this much money on a player who is not on their roster? Or does he tell the coaching staff and the GM, figure it out? This is a $230 million shiny toy I purchased. I am not throwing it in the garbage after 3 years. I'm going to put it on you guys to find a way to make this work. To be honest, I don't know the answer to that question. I really think only Jimmy Haslam knows the answer to that question, and we're probably not going to even get an idea of the answer to that question for a handful of weeks because it is crazy enough only week 5, even though it feels like week 15 for Browns fans. There is a long season ahead of us still. We're not even at the 1/3 way mark. There's a lot of football left. So I am sure Jimmy Haslam is going to give this coaching staff and front office the next 2/3 of the season plus to figure it out. Now, the pinned comment on today's episode, will Deshaun Watson start week 1, 2025? Give me your best prediction for next September right now. Scroll on down. Give me a yes or give me a no. The way it feels like right now, it's hard to type yes, but if you want to, bravo to you. You're a stronger and bolder and braver man than I am. Now, when we're talking replacement options, I want to go in a rough chronological order of when or how those options could unfold. So let's start with free agency, because when the offseason gets here, that's going to be the first thing that opens up. Then you start to see trades go down, and then the draft is at the very end. So looking at the free agent quarterbacks, here are 10 notable names. Sam Darnold is playing so well for the Vikings right now. I don't see a way Minnesota lets him go. If they really do let him go just so they can start J.J. McCarthy, he would be at the top of my wish list. Zach Wilson had a pretty good preseason for the Broncos, so if Andrew Berry feels like, hey, he just needs a new spot and it was all Robert Saleh and the Jets, hey, maybe we can make it work in Cleveland. That's a candidate right there. Andy Dalton, if he wants to come back to the AFC North. Brissett, it looks like his time in New England's coming to a close soon. Drake May was just announced as the starter for New England. Winston will look at it a little bit here, but to me, he seems like a very likely option. Joe Flacco, Jarrett Stidham, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields. The Steelers are going to pick one of those two QBs, and it definitely looks like Fields at the moment, so maybe Russ wants to continue his AFC North train. What about Mac Jones, another former first-round pick? To me, it feels like Jameis of the 10 is the most likely to come back and start next season of all the free agent quarterbacks. For starters, he's got a leg up on everyone. He knows Kevin Stefanski. He knows the personnel for the most part. He knows this playbook. So if the Browns had to turn to one quarterback in free agency, it would be the one they signed last year in free agency, right? They liked him enough a year ago to sign him. What's changed since then that's negative for Jameis? Nothing, to be honest. So if I had to pick one free agent quarterback to come back, my gut tells me it would be Winston. Now, my heart tells me Joe Flacco would be freaking awesome to come back. I mean, he's been awesome in relief for the Colts, no surprise, completing 70% of his passes, 5 touchdowns, 527 yards. Last year for the Browns, helping them get to the playoffs, throwing 13 touchdowns and 1,600 yards. He was a gunslinger. It was fun. It was a ride. It wasn't a great ending, but we had a lot of fun along the way, we must admit. But the Browns, I think, in calling out Andrew Berry here, made a huge mistake by not bringing Flacco back. I mean, Diana Rossini just reported somewhat out of the blue, as all three of these teams are dealing with quarterback issues last week, that the Dolphins, Jets, and Browns were a couple of teams that never called Joe Flacco, never had any interest in him. Someone's lying about the whole Joe Flacco thing, because when the season ended, Berry and Stefanski sounded like two guys that were very much open to bringing back Flacco. Now we're hearing the Browns were never even interested in signing Flacco. To me, I'm starting to trend more towards the Browns did not want to create potential controversy by bringing back Flacco and knowing the fan base would call for Flacco the moment things got tough for Watson, and that creating a divide in the locker room. So they bypassed it altogether, but they put all their eggs in the Watson basket, and here we are now, and it's not a very good basket to be in. Before we look at the next two options for replacements, I want to tell everyone watching about Game Time. If you are brave enough to go to a Browns game, like longtime Browns Report viewer Dylan Sutcliffe, or you want to go to a Guardians game or any other game in your area, Game Time Picks is the place to be because it filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem that code CHAT Sports for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. I put all that information because I love you in the comments and description of today's video. Option number 2, trade. I think if the Browns kind of strike out in free agency, they've got a short list of quarterbacks they like, and all of them get signed elsewhere, or the Browns can't afford them because so much of their cap is devoted to Watson, who's not going to be on the roster potentially at that point, or they don't plan to have on the roster, then they have to turn to the trade market. Let's run through some of the trade options, starting with Bryce Young, who does not look like he is going to be in Carolina for much longer. It has not been a very good start to the young player's career. I mean, in his career, 3,100 yards, 11 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. We've seen Sam Darnold turn his career around in Minnesota. Maybe Stefanski looks at Young as a really good player that just needs to find a better home than the dysfunctional Panthers, although the Browns aren't looking a whole lot more functional than Carolina right now. So I don't really want to pursue Young because I don't think he's very good at all, but If he's dirt cheap, maybe he is one of your next best options. Then you've got Daniel Jones, who over the last couple of games has been incredible, honestly. He has surpassed everyone's expectations for how he began the season versus how he is playing right now. But if he starts to go downhill and the Giants decide to kind of blow it up or they want to draft a rookie quarterback, we have a lot of football left, so nothing's a guarantee. But if the Giants, for whatever reason, decide to go a different direction, maybe DJ becomes available, and maybe that's just the next best option for Stefanski. Then you've got Gardner Minshew. He signed a 3-year, kind of a 2-year contract with the Raiders, multi-year contract with Las Vegas. I don't see a way he comes back next year. It's week 6 right now, and he's already been benched twice. So I think his time in Las Vegas is going to be up before the season is over, let alone next year. So once again, we are not going to find a whole lot of great options here, but this may be your next best option. And then there's the pipe dream, which everyone is praying for, and that is Kirk Cousins. I've seen a handful of Browns fans and just people who cover the team toss out the idea of trading for Kirk Cousins and not skipping a beat, keeping this defense together, keeping a really talented roster intact, and just swapping out Watson for Cousins. I got bad news for you all. I know Atlanta drafted Michael Penix. I don't see a world where Atlanta moves on from Kirk Cousins after 1 year if he continues to play at this level. They'll just bench bench is a strong word, but they'll just keep Penix on the bench for a second and maybe even a third season. No franchise in their right mind would dump a really good quarterback like this who's under contract for them. So don't bank on Kirk Cousins. I think that has a near 0% chance of happening. I think he's going to be in Atlanta for a minimum of 2 seasons, probably 3 years if he continues to play at the level he is playing right now. Honestly, I am just banning quarterback trades for this team. They have lost the privilege. They can earn it back, but they have to show us by hitting in the draft or finding a cheap free agent that they can evaluate the quarterback position without spending a huge amount of draft capital and giving out a huge contract to the quarterback. So you know what? Sorry, the Browns are on quarterback trade probation. Not going to allow it. Veto it all. Third and final replacement option is the draft. Everyone's favorite option. It offers hope. It offers change. Brings unknown in. When you have a whole bunch of known commodities on the market, the draft could bring someone way better or someone way worse. But as fans, we love the hope that it could be way better. So if you want to see something scary, here is the 2025 NFL draft order. The Browns right now have the number 3 overall pick. Obviously, this is very, very early in the game. There are so many weeks left here. We should not be glued to this even this early, although a loss on Sunday, and we're going to be doing a mock draft this time next week. But here are, I think, the 6 top quarterback draft targets. I don't think all 6 are, great. I'm just saying here are probably the 6 best options going into this upcoming draft. I think 2 to 3 are going to be first-round picks. Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, I think, are going to go round number 1. Quinn Ewers, we'll see how he bounces back from the injury. I think he's going to start this upcoming Saturday for Texas against Oklahoma at the Cotton Bowl. But yeah, I'll say Ewers a first rounder. Sure, why not? So let's really look at these 3 specifically because these are likely going to be the 3 quarterbacks that go round 1. We always see, a couple of quarterbacks become late risers. Happen to Anthony Richardson, for example. So don't rule anything out right now, but looking at these 3 options, just a couple of breakdowns on them. Cam Ward probably has the best arm, I would say, but also he just has incredible pre-snap awareness. He's got great intangibles. He has a great feel for the position. It's his 5th year in college football. Jaden Daniels played a lot of college football. He's doing pretty well in the NFL right now. Quinn Ewers, of course, Buckeyes fans know him all too well. Very, very highly touted prospect coming out of Texas. Cam Ward, by the way, went to Incarnate Ward. So 2 very different backgrounds for these 2 quarterbacks. And then you got Shedeur Sanders, who is an absolute playmaker. I am a little worried about Sanders maybe being a fit in Cleveland because it seems like Deion is going to have such a big say with Shedeur. And I don't know if Deion's going to love the Cleveland Browns for the way things have gone lately. So there's that to deal with. I'd rather go best player available. I don't think drafting a quarter. It's very early. It's October right now. We got to wait and see how the rest of this college football season plays out to have an accurate idea as to which quarterbacks are good prospects and which ones are maybe not so good. But for now, I am leaning towards getting the best player available and then probably attacking the quarterback position long term in 2026 and likely making 2025 a bridge year with Jameis Winston or someone else for cheap. Like, I'd rather see the Browns, instead of trying to just jump from one franchise quarterback to the next, take a little bit of a surefire thing, because this team is hurting by not having a first-round draft pick for 2022, 2023, and 2024. In that time span, only having one first or second-round draft pick, the second-round pick being Mike Hall. They need to just get some young, talented players, not try and solve all their problems with one quarterback selection. I'd rather go with a Kelvin Banks, tackle out of Texas. LSU has a great tackle as well. Will Johnson, Travis Hunter. I mean, if either one of those players are there, those would be awesome picks for the defense. But for me, I think Kelvin Banks on the offensive line would be a very good and wise investment to try and plug some other holes before tossing a quarterback behind an offensive line that can't hold anything right now or can't block anything right now. And then next year, either they're a year older or you've got a more inexperienced group. Go beef up the offensive line and get a quarterback in 2026. All right, that will do it for us on today's episode. I know it's bleak right now, but I appreciate everyone for hanging out with us, not going anywhere. Follow us on Instagram, by the way, Browns Report IG, posting Browns content over there. I really do thank you guys for hanging out with us all video long and hopefully all season long, because it puts a roof over my head and food on my table. So thank you all so much, and we'll see you guys next time.